All voters have the right to use an accessible machine to mark their ballot in the polling place. These machines, called voter assist terminals, can also be used in the clerk's office to mark absentee voter ballots in the days leading up to an election. The machine must be available and turned on wherever voting is taking place. To use the voter assist terminal, just ask. You do not need to say you have a disability or show any proof of a disability. The ICX Voter Assist Terminal has assistive tools that make it easier for voters with visual, hearing, mobility, or other disabilities to mark their ballots. Voting with this machine involves 3 steps: marking the ballot with the ICX, printing your ballot, and inserting it into the tabulator. This video will walk you through that process. At the polling place or in the clerk's office, let the election worker know that you'd like to use the ICX. You can also say you'd like to use the accessible voting machine or the voter assist terminal. It should be located in an easy-to-access area where your voting privacy will be protected. For your health and safety, the machine should be at least 6 feet from other voting booths and other areas being used by voters. There should be ample space under and around the table for mobility devices. If you will be taking someone with you to assist you in casting your ballot, the election worker will verify that that person is not your employer or an agent of your union. You may also request that 2 election workers accompany you to help you cast your ballot. The ICX is a touchscreen tablet that sits on a pedestal. It will be connected to a handheld assistive device and a printer. The device, called the Audio Tactile Interface, or ATI, may be used in place of the touchscreen to mark your ballot. The touchscreen's cursor is moved by triangular up and down arrows on the right side of the ATI and triangular left and right arrows on its left side. These highlight each ballot element in turn. The center X-shaped button selects a highlighted element. The ATI is typically used with headphones and features audio controls in the top corners. 2 small, square buttons on the top right corner increase or decrease the speed at which the ballot and instructions are voiced. 2 small, square buttons on the top left increase or decrease volume. A long, rectangular help button at the bottom of the device will allow you to access instructions for using the ATI at any time. All buttons are labeled in Braille. The ATI also has 2 connection ports at the bottom of the device. The left port is where alternative ballot marking devices connect, for example, a sip and puff or rocker switch. Polling places do not provide sip and puff equipment. You will have to bring your own sip and puff device. A rocker switch and connector cable may be available for you to use. Contact your local clerk's office to verify. The right port is for headphones, which will already be plugged in. Headphones may be used together with the touchscreen or with any other assistive device that scrolls and selects. The ICX screen is activated by a voter card that you or an election worker will insert into the pedestal at the bottom of the screen. Some precincts use a poll worker card instead, in which case the election worker will activate your voting session. Contact your local clerk if you'd like to know which method your precinct uses. After you fill out the application to vote, you'll be given ballot paper and, if applicable, a voter card. Some precincts will use ballot-sized cardstock in the printer instead of a stubbed ballot paper. If so, the election worker will remove a ballot stub from a standard ballot and insert it into the pocket on the secrecy sleeve with your application to vote, then give you the cardstock for the printer. The election worker checking you in will ask whether you'd prefer a voter card for touchscreen voting or one for voting with the ATI device. You can always ask an election worker to assist you at the accessible machine if you change your mind. Once you have your ballot paper and card, the election worker will offer to activate the voter assist terminal and load the paper into the printer for you. They will also offer to orient you in using the ICX and answer any questions you have. Do not hesitate to let them know what you need or to ask them to repeat instructions. You have the right to vote with or without assistance. Just tell the election worker what you require, and they will provide as much or as little help as you would like. When you are at the accessible voting booth, load the paper into the printer's upper tray, which extends out from the side of the printer at a 45-degree angle. The paper should be oriented so the ballot number faces up and enters the printer last. Cardstock may be oriented any lengthwise direction. If you would like, ask an election worker to load it for you. Situate yourself comfortably at the ICX. If an election worker is assisting you, they might ask if you'd like help connecting any assistive technology devices or putting headphones on. They will offer to orient you in operating the ICX or in adjusting its settings. If you are using a voter card to activate your own voting session, insert it into the card slot on the ICX's pedestal with the chip facing up and entering first. Otherwise, an election worker will activate the session with the poll worker card or with the voter card. The next screen will confirm that the login was successful and remind you to leave the voter card in for the entire voting session. If an election worker is activating your session, they might ask at this point if you need any more help. Otherwise, they will leave you to cast your ballot privately. You can always ask for assistance during any step of the voting process. Select Continue to Ballot Selection. If multiple languages are enabled for your ballot, the next screen will prompt you to choose the language you prefer to read or hear the ballot in. If you are using a voter card for touchscreen use, you will have the option on this first screen to choose Accessible Voting Mode. Choose this mode if you'll be using the headphones, if you want to navigate and mark your ballot with the audio tactile device, or if you have another assistive device for scrolling and selecting. If Accessible Voting Mode is selected, a blue box will show to the right of this button. If you just want to use the touchscreen, do not select this button. If you are using a voter card for ATI use, the system will automatically be set up to communicate with the ATI device. If you select Accessible Voting Mode, you will be asked to select your preferred accessible voting device. Select ATI to use the handheld keypad. Select Paddles or Sip and Puff if you have brought one of those devices with you, or select Audio-Visual Mode if you wish to listen to your ballot on headphones while you use the touchscreen. Audio is enabled for any accessible voting mode. The Privacy Mask button on this page allows you to turn the display off completely while you vote. A blue box will show to the right of the button when it is selected. With the Privacy Mask on, only the topmost menu bar will show. Your ballot and ballot selections will be hidden. At any time, the display can be turned back on by selecting the View button at the top, then selecting Privacy Mask. The Privacy Mask cannot be selected if you choose Audio-Visual Mode, since the touchscreen is used in this mode. If you decide you don't want an accessible session after all, or selected it by mistake, the Cancel button at the bottom of the screen will take you to your ballot. If you wish to adjust the display settings before marking your ballot, you'll use the 5 buttons on the toolbar at the top of the touchscreen. Selecting Language allows you to read or hear the ballot in your preferred language. The Text Size button allows you to view a large print ballot. The Audio button will only be selectable in an accessible session. Otherwise, it will be grayed out. If available, select this button to adjust the volume and speed of the audio accompaniment. Adjust display settings, such as the Contrast and Privacy Mask feature, by selecting the View button. Selecting the More button opens a drop-down menu with 2 options. Select About if you want information about the ICX system. Select Cancel Activation to end your voting session without marking your ballot. This button will only be available if the voting session was activated by a poll worker. Just beneath the toolbar, a second bar shows all the offices and proposals on the ballot in a single row. You can easily go anywhere within the ballot using this bar. If arrows appear at the far right or left of the bar, select an arrow to show more contests. You may also use the buttons in the navigation bar at the bottom of the screen to move through the ballot. Next moves you forward to the next contest. Back returns to the previous one. Each screen displays the name of the office or proposal and will tell you the maximum number of choices to select. For example, the instructions may tell you to vote for 2. To vote for a candidate, select the box to the left of the candidate's name. To vote for or against a proposal, select the box to the left of yes or no. Selected boxes will display a check mark. If scroll down or scroll up tabs appear, selecting these will show more candidates or information. If there is an option to enter a write-in candidate, select the write-in button. Using the keypad that appears, enter the candidate's name, then select Accept. The write-in name will display next to Write-in with a check mark. If you are using a rocker switch, sip and puff, or another dual switch assistive device, you will use one action to scroll clockwise through elements on the screen and another action to select. Your sip and puff device will scroll with sips. Elements will be highlighted when you land on them. Puff once to select. Your rocker switch will scroll clockwise as you repeatedly press one button. Press the other button to select the highlighted element. Once you've selected the maximum number of choices for a contest, the others will be grayed out. For example, if the instructions tell you to select 2, other choices will become unavailable after you select 2. To make a different selection, you must first unselect something by touching it or by selecting it using an assistive device. The other choices will again become selectable. If you want to review the choices you've made at any point during the voting process, select the Review button, located on the left side of the navigation bar. When you arrive at the end of the ballot, a Review button will show up in place of the Next button. All your choices will be listed on the Review page for you to approve before printing. From the Review screen, you can make any changes by selecting the choice you want to change. You can also select Back to Ballot, located at the bottom of the screen. You will have to unselect your original choice first, then select your new choice. If you're happy with your choices as shown on the Review screen, you may end your voting session by printing your ballot. Select the Print Ballot button at the bottom right. A screen will prompt you to confirm your choice. Once you have confirmed, a complete ballot marked with your selections will be printed. Finally, select Continue on the ICX screen, and if applicable, remove the voter card from the card reader. Your printed ballot will have a summary of your choices beneath a QR code. The code records your choices for the tabulator to read. If possible, review your marked ballot one last time. After printing, it is no longer possible to make changes to this ballot. If you wish to change your ballot, an election worker will help you through the process of spoiling your ballot and starting over. When you are ready, place your ballot in the secrecy sleeve and head toward the table on the way to the tabulator. At this table, an election worker will collect your voter card, ballot stub, and application to vote. They will verify that your stub number matches the number on your application. It is very important to make sure you return the voter card, since some polling places have only one or have a limited supply. If you'd like help putting your ballot into the tabulator, let the election worker know. Otherwise, insert your ballot into the tabulator and deposit the secrecy sleeve into the collection bin. We hope that you have found this video guide helpful. Remember that your vote matters, and you have the right to vote with or without assistance.